An independent investigation by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation reveals how the federal government is giving preferential treatment to foreign oil. Could Justin Trudeau be the Iranian mullah's very best oil salesman? Justin Trudeau is imposing strict up and downstream greenhouse gas emissions on Western Canadian oil, while at the very same time not applying those same heavy rules to foreign imported oil. Now, many of these rules were first announced in August 2017. The Liberal government then suddenly announced that the National Energy Board would be, for the very first time, considering the public interest impact of both up and downstream emissions in the Energy East pipeline review. What this serves to do is make an oil company or pipeline company responsible for the end user of their product, whatever that oil-derived product may be, before the oil even goes into the pipeline. Think about it this way. The Liberals made Trans-Canada Pipelines responsible for the social impact and greenhouse gas emissions from gasoline that would eventually go into the oil-hating former mayor of Montreal, Denis Coderre's car, so that he could drive down to watch his city dump raw sewage into the river. Then in November, TransCanada canceled its plans for the Energy East pipeline and the Eastern Main Line. Russ Girling, TransCanada's CEO, said that the company came to this decision after careful review of changed circumstances. The circumstances that changed were the rules around approvals. And then, in February, the Liberals again decided to scrap the nonpartisan, non-political National Energy Board altogether, creating a new body called the Assessment Agency of Canada. Instead of just assessing the real environmental considerations of a pipeline or a project, you know, the scientifically measurable stuff that evidence-based decisions are built upon, the Liberals opted to inject a healthy helping of social justice into the mix now. The new agency will also consider health, social, and economic impacts, as well as the effects on Indigenous people over the long term of a project. I sort of think these people think that jobs and economic activity are bad for your health. Anyway, in the end, what the Liberals have done is that they've made the energy approvals process so vague and so broad and frankly so ridiculous that few companies in their right minds would undertake a new project here in Canada under these circumstances. At the time, the Environment Minister Catherine McKenna said the new rules would make the Canadian energy sector more competitive. Really. More crazy rules that other countries don't have would make us more competitive with them. Competitive with whom exactly? The Americans who are slashing regulations all the time, or with countries who don't have any regulations at all? Competitive with those guys? Okay, so that's the backstory of the wacky new rules. Now here are the shocking details about who these new rules really help, dug up by the good folks at the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. CTF filed access to information requests into the federal government and discovered that foreign oil being imported into Canada isn't subject to these new emissions rules from the federal government. Identical requests for information were sent to Natural Resources Canada, Environment and Climate Change Canada, Transport Canada, and Global Affairs. They read, "Please provide reports and analysis, final copy or last draft copy if the final is not available, on reviews related to any upstream or downstream impacts to greenhouse gas emissions from foreign oil that is imported to Canada." The time frame for this request is January 1st, 2015 to December 21st, 2017. Each one of those information requests returned the exact same response. After a thorough search, no records were found concerning this request. The federal government isn't concerning itself with the oil Canada imports. In 2016, Canada imported 759,000 barrels of oil per day. A little over half of that came from the United States, thanks to our old friend fracking, but a solid third of it came from imports from OPEC member countries, including Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, and the United Arab Emirates. The CTF cited a 2014 report by the Canadian Energy Research Institute that noted the now dead Energy East pipeline would have contributed $7.6 billion in tax revenue across different levels of government. And that is just the tax revenue from the pipeline. The pipeline itself was a $15 billion private sector investment that would have employed over 3,700 people during the construction phase. And the new rules from the Trudeau government killed it. We know that. And now we know for certain those rules only target Canadian oil. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau just might be the Iranian mullah's very best oil salesman. Environment Minister Catherine McKenna should be making some sort of commission for all the help she's giving the dictatorship of Venezuela. Natural Resources Minister Jim Carr is working much harder for Saudi Aramco than he is for the province of Alberta. And here in Alberta, our Premier Rachel Notley, for all of her public foot stomping about pipelines and her carbon tax purchasing social license, well, she doesn't seem to be all that interested in doing anything about this unfair treatment of Western Canadian oil. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunry. Did you know that I have my own weekly full-length show here on The Rebel? It's aptly named The Gun Show, where we talk about issues facing Alberta and the rest of the country. To get access to my show and the rest of our amazing premium content, become a Rebel subscriber today.